Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Rise Urban Nation. Y'all got a special treat. This building straight from hot Atlanta. Diamond says she's our diamond girl. Yes. Yes. don't act like you ain't heard that one before, Diamond. Don't tell me I'm the first.
I have.
Yeah. You should have that song on repeat.
Oh Lord.
How are you doing this morning, Diamond?
I'm good. I'm good. It's nice. It's nice weather
Look,
here. So I'm good.
nice weather there. Or it's probably afternoon for y'all. Is it afternoon right now
It's
in
10:30.
ATL?
10:30.
Okay. Right. So Diamond, you came to me from a nice little PR company. When they gave me the bio, I was like, oh, we got to have her on. Diamond has a wealth of knowledge and experience in brand and design, which she also has led best in 2022 in Atlanta Award, featured in Black Enterprise. The list goes on and on. Featured in Vogue, Forbes, GMA. Man, I was like, okay, she about to bring $1 million worth of game to us today. I
Y'all better
need the I
know it.
need the I want to make sure we give you your flowers while you still here to receive them because you out here just killing
Thank
the
you.
game.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate
So
that.
So tell us, tell for the people who don't know Diamond, who is Diamond?
So that's a great question, and I love that you
Yeah,
asked.
and I know that's deep. It's more than what I just said. So you tell the people, allow you to reintroduce yourself.
So, of course, my name is Diamond, and I actually recently got married last year. So my new last name is Spikes.
Ooh, so let me step that up. Diamond Spikes. Ooh, all right.
But I am me first and foremost. I wasn't born in Atlanta, but I was born in Oklahoma, Midwest City. Um,
Uh-huh.
I grew up abroad in Germany. I grew up some in Louisiana, and I spent the majority of like my formative years in Atlanta. So I've been here since '99, and I haven't left. um, and I love it here. But when it comes to me as a person, like I'm a very empathic being. And I've been like that
Mm,
since I was a child. My brother even tells this story sometimes of like when I was like a baby, like, he wasn't feeling well, he was depressed. And like I just came up to him and like laid my head in his lap, just kind of knew that, he was going through something and that, I
mm,
was like empathizing with his pain and like, bringing him some peace in that moment. And that's something that has kind of carried me throughout my life, even though as like a teenager, I didn't necessarily see the value in it because of how, like in your teenage years, you're going through a lot of like emotional changes and stuff. And so life can be extremely difficult with trying to cope with
mm,
that stuff and really understand what it all means and how to handle it, especially when you're being exposed to yourself in that way as such a like a dramatic way.
mm,
So when I was a teenager, I didn't see the value in it, but as an adult woman, I totally see the value in it because it allows me to one do what I do, and it
mm,
allows me to really be able to see and understand how people connect and
mm,
why we connect.
mm,
And at the base and core of all of that, is connection, is love, is, that's all we want to do as people, right?
mm.
But short story, that's me.
No, I love I love all that, and I connect with all that. The funny thing that you mentioned that because I before we even hit record, we started off, being empathetic towards each other with the scheduling, and I was like, "Love is love," and look, here it is, coming back into the fold of the conversation, and
Yep.
growing up, I was I don't know if because I haven't really did a deep dive to see if had the same empath qualities as you, but I was big on energy, uh, you could feel people's energy.
For
At least
sure.
for me, I could feel people's energy, and sometimes I was like, oh man, that person's energy is off, and it's throwing me off. Like I can't be around this right now, right? Or not knowing how to really assess it as a teenager because I'm assessing my own energies too. But now I get it more as an adult like you. So I love that you mentioned that. Um, how do you use that now in your being as adult? Like I know for me, it's just understanding where my energy level is and the energy that is around me. I don't know what it's like for you in your day to day.
So one thing that has really allowed me to do is be able to always be in a space of understanding and meeting people where they are,
Mm,
and wanting to truly understand the space. Um,
mm,
and that's obviously helpful in relationships. That's helpful in work. Like that's just helpful in every way possible to be able
mm,
to um, see people where they are, see them as they are, and then be able to understand, their needs. Even in
mm,
terms of a relationship, because we're all different. We all grew up different. We all have different minds, and we all even understand words differently. So, just
mm.
having the consciousness to
Ooh.
know that, and really be able to sit in those moments and be like, okay, let me just make sure that you understood it the way that I said it, because I know that you
Mm,
understand words differently than I do. So just for clarity's sake, let's talk and make sure that you get the proper understanding, because I could say something to you and you think that you understand it, but you could be understanding it in a completely different context, you know
mm.
than I'm meaning.
Yeah,
So, just really having the capacity to truly understand. Like I'm a very um as is person. Like
yeah,
I see things as they are. And I've
yeah.
been like that since I was a kid. And that goes beyond like what people think things are versus what they are. Um
Mm,
and that even goes into like my degree is in studio art from Spelman. And
Go spell me.
one of the things that I was really gifted with was being able to draw like photorealistic portraits.
Yeah.
And I think that spoke even more to the fact that I see things as they are. I can give you a piece of paper and a
Hmm.
pencil and say, hey, draw this apple. 9 times out of 10, unless you actually do know how to do it, you're going to draw what you think the apple looks like and not what it actually looks like.
Mm,
And that's just something, going back to the empath thing and the understanding and all that, like it's all just who I am. Like I
yeah,
see things literally as they are.
yeah. And the one thing I appreciate about who you are, you've even built it into your business, right? Like, because I see it says empathetic branding and design. Like, first of all, what does that mean? Empathetic branding and design.
How does that work?
Yeah, how does that work? Like, you break that down for me, please.
Cool. So, when it comes to branding, when most people think about branding, they're thinking about like the design portion. They're thinking about logos. They're thinking about all the fun stuff that you look at. However, before you get to that point, there's an entire piece of the process that involves research, that involves strategy, that involves getting to know, the stakeholders or the owners of the brand, what their values are, their beliefs, them coming together to figure out, what their mission is, the purpose, the vision for the brand, knowing the competitors, target audience, and things of that nature. But in order to truly do any of that stuff, you have to employ empathy. Um, and one of
Mm,
the biggest things that we like to say is that we put people first and data second. And it's like that specifically because, you know, your data is only going to be as good as the person who is essentially um, using it to create strategy, the person who's
mhm,
analyzing it. And you are going to have to use it to create these different things. So when you're looking at the data, when you're looking at, having these conversations with the owners and figuring out, what is this brand? Who is it
mhm,
exactly for? Um, and even in going and talking about the target audience, that goes into intimately knowing them. So if you're
mhm,
deploying empathy in that way, you're truly getting to know who these people are and intimately knowing the day to day for them, what that looks like, what they don't like, what their pain points are. This is the same thing that you would
mm,
do if you had a close friend if you had a significant other, you would intimately know them
Hmm.
in a way where you can anticipate their needs, um, and know what it is that you need to do in order to serve them. And that's literally the exact
Mm.
same thing that you have to do when it comes to branding. So that's what we do.
Nah, that's deep right there. I didn't even think about it like that. And you're right. People first model. You know, I would think of it because I in my day job I do diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I think of it differently, like having like a universal design with a people centric model that really, we're going to use data to supplement, but we want to touch the human. We want to be human centered design and how we really make sure that we're building things for this person to live abundantly as a human being, right? Like not just survive but thrive as a
Right.
human being, like at its core, no matter how they show up. Uh,
Exactly.
I love that. I love that. I'm thinking about my brand now, uh, and I'm
Mm.
probably gonna put you on the spot. I'm gonna unpack this, and I'm gonna try to be brave and vulnerable, and have you just like dissect me right now. What if you got like two audiences? Because like with our brand, we're one, trying to, with that 18 to 24 range, really trying to show
Mhm.
them like black excellence in one core. And then we have another side of our customer base is working with universities for social innovation programs and projects and
Mhm.
helping, to get more of our people that look like us into these spaces so they can build their business, build things that really help their communities, right? And evolve. So how do I be empathetic in my branding when I got two different audiences I'm serving?
So that's a good question. But it's still going to go back to intimately knowing who you're serving. And you can serve multiple audiences. Most brands do have multiple audiences, whether that's different age groups, whether that's, um, different, whatever specific data of demographic information. There are plenty of brands who have different target audiences. So the main thing is going to be just making sure that you have, you know them,
Hmm.
and knowing them is going to help you be able to develop the proper strategy, whether that's, knowing which channels that you need to speak to them on, knowing how to specifically speak to those people. So, for
Hmm.
example, using the 18 to 24-year-olds versus the universities. Obviously, university people are going to be on LinkedIn. They're going to be on spaces where it's more official and professional, and there's going to be a specific message that is going to be tailored towards them versus the 18 to 24-year-olds, which are probably going to be on TikTok and Instagram, and there's going to be a specific message that's going to be tailored towards them, and obviously different content. And even if you do have some of the same content, it may be presented differently. So
Hmm.
again, it just goes back to intimately, when you intimately know who you're serving, it helps you build everything else.
Mm. So true, so true. Now, how do people really develop a strong, unique brand identity that resonates with their audience, especially with that empathetic lens? How do they do that?
So it's really going to be around them. Again, you got to start with knowing who those people are, and you also have to know what problem it is that you're solving.
Mm.
And within that, you have to know what the competitors around you are doing and what makes you specifically different from them,
Hmm.
and what your position is in the market, right? So
Hmm.
once you're able to discover what that is, then you're able to say, hey, this is who we are, this is what we offer. And then like, okay, cool, I'm listening. And then you double back with the content that says, hey, this is what we're about. And they're like, I feel that. That's me.
Yeah.
You see me. And then that's when you're able to really like pull them in and get them on board to like, engage with the content, engage with the brand, fall in love and all of that stuff. But it definitely starts with one, knowing who the target is, and two, knowing your position in the
Hmm.
market, and knowing what problem you are solving within that. So all that stuff pretty much comes together so that you can actually marry it.
Yeah. And build that beautiful strategy that's empathetic. Um,
Right.
Who
And
will you
honestly,
go ahead?
I'm gonna double back real quick with the brand identity portion of it.
Uh-huh.
Your brand identity is informed by the strategy.
Mm.
So whatever you do, whatever work you do, whatever research, whatever information and clarity that you get from doing a brand strategy, that is the information. Once it is set in stone, once you have, this is who we are, this is who we serve, this is what they look like, this is what they go through on a day-to-day basis, this is their persona, this is our vision, mission, values, these are our beliefs, this is our purpose. Once you have all that set in stone, then a brand identity is created from that. And a brand identity is something that is also, research and data backed, but it allows you to create something that is reflected or is a reflection of the strategy. So when you see the brand identity, it feels like the strategy. Obviously, the strategy is something that's internal, but it's something that helps guide all the things that the company does and all the people who work for the company do
Mm.
externally and internally. So when
Mm.
all the copy is being made, when the website is being made, when the packaging is being made, when all the collateral, the social media and everything, it's bringing those people in, the correct people, because the strategy was created with empathy. And so it
Mm.
all just comes together really nicely to do exactly what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Build
You know,
community.
I like that building community aspect because that's definitely what we're about as well. And when you're talking, I'm trying to think of, oh man, I wonder who she thinks does this well. Like, because the thing that comes to mind for me is the company that I love that's near and dear to my heart that I feel that does this well, and you might tell me differently, is Apple, right? Because they
Mhm.
they this is the reason why they have such a good community and brand following, and the reason why that same community is willing to buy an iPhone from them, an MP3 player, a smart watch, because of that their values, that brand identity that they have built, which is the reason why companies that were still as capable of doing it, like Adele, they built MP3s, they built all this, but like their brand loyalty and following didn't go carry over to all the different products that they started to service.
Right.
Right, so
So
I don't know
definitely.
yeah. What's your thoughts on that, and who's one of your favorites?
So Apple is hands down obviously a favorite. I'm an Apple girl. I got Apple everything. I got iPhone, I got MacBook, I got iPad. I've been with Apple since like the 99s and the 2000s. So I'm definitely an Apple girl, but I can piggyback off of that, and I can also give you another example, which is one of my clients. But with Apple, what they've been able to do is get majority of the market share of
Uh-huh.
technology when it comes to iPhones and computers, right, and
Mhm.
tablets. Um, they have so much of the market share that when people say tablet, sometimes they don't even use the word tablet; they use the word iPad.
Mm.
And tablet is a tablet. There are different types of tablets, but people, use them as synonyms.
Mhm.
Same things with face tissue. People don't say, "Can you pass me a tissue?" They say, "Can you pass me a Kleenex?"
Mhm.
Kleenex is a brand. It's not. It's not. It's a brand. So, you know, going back to Apple, they've taken the right route with being able to create empathy. They put empathy deep in their branding, and they make sure that they have created an emotional connection with people. Another thing that they've done really well with the storytelling that they do, they put the customer directly in the center of the story and make them a protagonist, right? And so they kind of
Mhm.
Apple positions themselves as a guide that helps them get to whatever it is that they're trying to get to. And
Mhm.
like that's a simple formula of storytelling, but it's something that genuinely works, especially from an empathic lens, because you're literally, it's like, walking a day in somebody's shoes. You literally putting them in the center of the
Mhm.
story of your brand, and you're letting them see themselves in your brand and how your brand can actually help them get whatever it is, even if
Mhm.
that is an emotional benefit. which 9
Mm-hmm.
times out of 10, besides the physical benefits of the specs and all this fancy stuff that it can do, the emotional benefit sits on top of that. And that's the beauty of being able to create all these like really cool campaigns that make people cry and, you feel all the feels and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that. On the front end, we see all the cool gadgets and stuff like that, but on the back end, we really feel, the story that's being told there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think one of my clients that does a really good job with specifically community building. I have a client named Hoop Mob, really
Mm-hmm.
dope brand. We just finished their rebrand not too long ago, but even before they became a client of ours, they did an excellent job of community building. And that's actually one of the things that what people call social media brands. I'm gonna do air quotes because
Yeah.
that's what people call them, like brands who grew and started from social media and probably didn't really have the intent on becoming super big, but they are now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, they do an excellent job of building community online. And they may not even have necessarily a brand identity, but they have community. And in a
Mm-hmm.
strange sense, because we have social media, it's kind of created this dichotomy that we call the
Mm-hmm.
mom and pop effect, which is basically the space where these direct to consumer brands are living that are 9 times out of 10 black and brown owned, minority owned brands, but they exist in a space that has allowed them to build massive communities that are supportive, that go hard for them, that buy their products. Um, and my client Hoop Mob was definitely one of those brands. Like all they had was logo.
Mm-hmm.
But they had, really, really cute content that they would post. They were really, really good with developing their community. The owner, she stays on Instagram Live, like literally doing like QVC style, like almost QVC meets FaceTime, where she's on there and she's like, "Hey y'all, this is our new drop for the week," and like she's talking to them like their family, and that's what you
Mm-hmm.
want, right? Um, but they've done such a good job at that, and they continue to do a good job with that, even post launch of their new brand, where they're implementing new things, which is really, really dope to see them continue to cultivate that really dope community.
Mm-hmm.
Of people who just continuously, they love it. Like they like the fact that, they have drops and they know they're going to see Danielle. That consistency, which is a major factor, the
Mm-hmm.
consistency that is required to build relationships, which is a
Mm-hmm.
thing in real life. You have to be consistent in order to build a relationship with somebody. Same thing
Yeah.
goes for brands. So, they've done a really good job with being consistent with
Mm-hmm.
building this community and making sure they show up for their community in the appropriate capacity. And it's super dope to see it. Even with the type of content that they put out and the type of cute campaigns that they have, just to from a cultural perspective, because Hoop Mob is a Black woman centered cultural brand. It's for
Mm.
everybody, but it's definitely Black woman centered. If you think about it, like, the Black girl with the bamboo hoops, what that
Mm-hmm.
looks and feels like, and what the height of that was, like back in the early 2000s, in the 90s, like, that was a
Shoot.
specific thing. Hmm.
We had
So,
songs about it. I
you
need a
feel
girl
me?
with stitches in the hair, bamboo earrings, at least 2 pair.
Right. So, the way that they're able to even bring nostalgia, which is a thing that is a part of their brand, even bringing nostalgia for these women, and helping them with those feelings again, bringing that connection and that connectivity, besides the fact that they're literally developing like real relationships with them, but really creating just a really dope customer experience for them. And I just love to see it.
I love that. I love that. And that's a great example of, using empathy and branding and design and building customer relationships, being and very being very community focused as well, and knowing your community. So I love that you brought that, and I think that's, you know, for some brands that's still a struggle for them, and I think rebranding or getting back to that core allows you to kind of really figure that piece out when you're trying to
Yeah,
figure out,
because
who's your good.
Brands are throwing spaghetti at the wall, and they're doing that because 9 times out of 10, they don't have a strategy in place. They're trying to figure it out as they go. And granted, that
Mhm.
is a lot of business, period. You are figuring things out as you go. But
Mhm.
not every brand starts out that way, especially brands that are like this. A lot of times they come in and they already have brand strategies in place and they go and they get funding because they already know their position in the market. And that's what investors like. They like that you
Mhm.
know what you offer differently than all these
Mhm.
other brands, and they know that they can invest in that and it can go to the next level because all the pieces are in place. So
Mm.
um, I definitely think that, it's just important.
Yeah.
It's definitely important to make sure that those pieces are in place.
Nice. So I'm also curious to know uh, because another topic that you often discuss is using empathy to create work-life balance. And I think if anything we've learned since the pandemic 2020 is that this is more on the top of people's mind now, work-life balance.
Yeah.
Um how do you use empathy to create work-life balance? And this something that you've always done, or is it something that became more, I guess, apparent to you, like we all did in 2020 when we had to take that pause from coronavirus and that the awakening of what was happening in our country through the murder of George Floyd. Give me your
Mhm.
breakdown on that.
So it's definitely something that I've always been inclined to, and I've been working on really hard. I think I came to really get that stuff together, I'd say maybe in 2016, 2017. I've been an entrepreneur since I was a teenager. So,
Wow.
yeah, so I'm 31 now.
Okay.
So, um, I've definitely have had my fair share of like really learning and understanding what that looks like. And even over time, just growing more intentional with understanding specifically what that needs to look like for me.
Mhm.
So the best way for anybody to be able to create, to use empathy to create, that work life balance is really know who you are. Like, what kind of person are you really? Like,
Mhm.
not, oh, I'm mom, I'm wife, I'm auntie, not that, but like, who are you? What things do you
Mm.
like? What things do you not like? What do you
Yeah.
know you will and won't do? What type of personality do you have? Like, go take some personality tests so that you can really figure out like your human persona. Understanding those things will help you develop um,
Mhm.
a life and a schedule that makes sense for you specifically.
Mhm.
And that's actually something that I do for myself, I do for my
Mhm.
husband, and I have a challenge that I do that I recently started. Actually, a quarter ago. It ended on Saturday, actually, but
Mhm.
where I basically help women get on track. And it doesn't have to be women, but it's been mostly women. But I help them get on track, and part of that we do a time schedule activity.
Mhm.
And within that time schedule activity, they're, writing down what it is that they're doing throughout the day, just getting a real bird's eye view of what they're actually doing versus what they think they're doing.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so that is it's an eye opener for everybody who does it every single time because they're like, damn, I thought I was doing this, but I really wasn't. Um, but having that realistic moment and having that data, that real data in front of you helps you see how you're spending your time. But then you're also able to realistically look at yourself and say, okay, how do I need to structure things so that I make sure I am successful?
Mm.
And that
Mm.
involves one, planning your life out first. Especially, I mean, honestly, whether you have a job, whether you're an entrepreneur, you need to plan your life out first. At least if you can't do the entire year, do it quarter by quarter. Plan
Mhm.
out what you want to do that quarter. Plan out your self care time, plan out your date nights, plan out all of those things. Just have it on the schedule. Um, so that when it comes time for you to implement the other portions, your work, your business and stuff, everything else can just fall into place versus you having to work around everything else. Everything else needs to
Mhm.
work around you. And that's just how I feel about it. But
Mm.
um, it's helpful. Like it allows you to maintain control over your own life, because a lot of times people do give up control because they feel like, oh, I'm just pulled in so many directions. You don't have to be. Like, you have a choice. And if
Mm-hmm.
you just structure things in a way that benefit you, that are based on who you are as a person, everything will be so much better. Like, you can have time um planned out where, maybe on every other Friday and Saturday, if a friend randomly wants to do something, you can do that random thing on that Friday or Saturday. And you
Mm-hmm.
don't
Mm-hmm.
feel like you're being taken away from some other stuff that you have to be doing, that you need to be doing, because you already, you know what I'm saying? Like, you already have the structure that's
Mm-hmm.
appropriate for you, that makes you feel comfortable enough to go do something like that. So it's just more so about making sure that you know yourself well enough, and that you're invested in really knowing yourself well enough to be able to develop something that works for you.
Man, that's so important. I'm glad you mentioned that. I used to teach a Franklin Covey class that used to talk about that too. And I remember I used to play people this video, and in this video, this man had like a glass jar, right? And he would first he filled it up with like big rocks. He's like, "Is it full?" Class was like, "Yeah, it's full." Then he put in these marbles. "Is it full?" "Yeah, it's full." Then he put in these little pebbles that fit in between it. "Is it full?" "Oh yeah, it's full now." Then he brought sand and he filled it up. He's like, "Is it full?" Is that "Yeah, it's full now." Grab some water, poured that in. It's like, "Is it full?" "Okay, it's really full now," right? And the point of being is that we tend to let things like the phone calls, the family emergencies, the think we need to do list fill up the jar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we fill everything else around it, when it should be the other way. First we should put the most important things that we need to get done first, that's going to help us excel in life, and that are beneficial to our well-being and self-care, so that we could be more and show up more empathetic in the way we do things, right?
Yeah, I mean, you
uh
can only show up for people as much as you show up for yourself. So,
mm,
yeah,
mm, that's a bar right there. Say that again for the people in the back that didn't hear you. Say that again. That's a bar.
I say you can only show up for people as much as you've shown up for yourself.
mm, Man, that's gonna that's gonna go over some of y'all heads, but I hope that the ones that get it, because that's so true.
Yeah.
That is.
I mean, because it's a capacity thing. If you don't have the
Mm,
capacity to go there with yourself, you won't have the capacity to go there with anybody else.
man, you know, because another analogy I use is like, when when you're going on a flight, right? Most of the time they tell you, like, in case of emergency,
Put your
put
mask
your.
on first and then help the other folks.
Exactly, but we tend to go help everybody else. But what if you pass out trying to help? Like, you ain't good for nobody, right? But
Right.
we, especially black women, I hate to call y'all out on this. Y'all always trying to save everybody, and I'm like, look, ma, you need to take care of yourself first. They'll be fine. They good. They grown. They a grown ass man. They a grown ass woman. Let them handle their own problems. You take care of you. Your health is more important to me right now.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know what it is, uh, about our culture that
I know what it is,
what
but
is
that's
it?
a conversation for another day.
All right, we'll say that for another day.
For sure.
We're gonna have real talk with Diamond and T. uh, Now let's talk a little bit about growing a DTC brand to this multi six figure empire that it is, using
Mhm.
empathy. Like, tell us the story. Like, how did this come to be, and give me the journey of how you got to where you're at. I think it's just an amazing story. Like, and I know others want to hear it.
I appreciate it. But so DTC means direct to consumer. And those are the brands that we help, right?
Uh huh.
Um, my journey specifically in this space as a creative entrepreneur that helps other businesses started in 2019, where I made the decision to go full time with that specifically. So I started deploying a strategy in like December 2019, January 2020, you know, we was going to get heavy in the pandemic at that point in time. Everything was just starting to shut down abroad before it got here in like March. So I had, you know, I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this to the side. I'm going to put that to the side. I'm going to focus on this and I'm going to deploy this specific strategy. One really cool thing about me is that like I'm equally creative and strategic. So I'm really good with strategy. And
Nice.
obviously, which is why I do what I do. But anyway, I I said this is what I'm gonna do. I did it, and by the end of 2020, what I had started at the beginning of the year was already at six figures. So
Woo.
yeah, that was. I'm not. You know what? I'm not gonna dim my light. I'm not gonna dim it. Light
Nah,
work.
don't.
That was light work.
Yeah.
That was light work. I had done, you know, six figures before in other uh, industries. So it's like, you know, rinse and repeat. Different industry. I had to, you know, build my presence and all that stuff. And I was like, yeah, you know, this is what I want to do. So this is what I'm going to go for. Because the thing is, I had/have a hair company. And I was doing hair for a really long time. And also I had the company as well. And so on the side, I was doing the branding and stuff for other businesses. And I didn't want to do it on the side anymore. I wanted to make that full time. Because the thing that I really wanted to live out was just the fact that the reason why why I was so successful with all the things that I've been doing is because I'm a creative entrepreneur. Like that's why. Like that is why. So I was like, that's what I want to be on the forefront. I want people to see me as a creative being, not just like this businesswoman who has this hair company and da 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 da. Because I'm a creative at the end of the day. So you know, did that. Got six figures by the end of 2020. I've been maintaining that for the past 3 years. Of course, we've had some really, really, really dope stuff, but the main thing is when it comes to building a brand like that, you have to be focused. And when I say focused, I mean like you have to have a plan, deploy it. Whenever you need to pivot, do that, but just stick with what you're doing. You never get to build momentum if you continuously change your goal, right? You can't be like, well, I want to do this. And it's like, well, this is not working. I want to do this. It's not that it's not working. It's probably you're in a specific space where you have not gotten the momentum yet. You have to work to build momentum. Momentum is something that is built over time. So you have to continue to do the proper things to build momentum so that you can get there. If you never allow yourself to get to the momentum, you will never get there, no matter what it is that you're doing. So you have to, one, give yourself grace to go through the process, and two, be focused because things are going to happen. There are going to be things that come in and try to like throw you off or whatever. But I like to use this analogy from what's that show? Lovecraft. Have you seen Lovecraft Country?
I haven't seen Lovecraft yet, but go ahead, use the analogy.
Man, it's such a good show. But for those who have seen Lovecraft, there's a specific portion of the show that happened, and it's so deep. There's a specific portion of the show that happens in Tulsa, Oklahoma, like right before the white people came and bombed. And I say right before, I mean 30 minutes before the bombing started happening, right? And one of the main characters, she's pregnant with another one of the main characters, like baby, and she gets to meet up with the grandmother. She has like this protection all over her so that she cannot be harmed while she's there. So they're praying. They started getting bombed. The grandmother's literally burning alive, praying with her. And it's the most intense thing ever. But she has this book that she has to carry with her and make it back on. She's on a mission. She has to get the book, bring it back. So she's seeing all this stuff happen around her. She can't do anything because obviously if she does, it'll change time. All those people died. It is what it is. She gets the book. She's walking down the street. There are bombs going off all around her, fire, all types of stuff. She is focused. She's visibly upset. She's crying, but she's focused on getting this book to where she has to go. She's walking steady. She's not looking left. She's not looking right. She's not looking anywhere but where she's trying to get to. And every time I think about staying focused, that's what I'm talking about. Because focus isn't being, you know, being straightforward when everything is good around you. It's being straightforward when there's all types of shit happening that you can't control. And that you will never be able to control. All you can control is what you do. So just stay focused on what you're trying to do. Do not look left or right because you will get thrown off.
I love that. That's a great analogy. And now you make me want to watch this show
It's
with that
amazing.
analogy. Like, you know, they should, somebody cut the check. Well, you know, y'all got a new promoter out here. Somebody cut the check. Oh man, I love that. I love that. Niching down to scale up. Let's talk about that because I feel like sometimes entrepreneurs, they come into the game, they got all these grand ideas, especially when if they're creative, right? And so I don't know if your creative side has this problem where it's like, ooh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do that, but you ain't known for nothing yet. So you like start with building that one thing good first. And then maybe later on down the road you can add that.
Perfect. Glad that you said that. So, obviously, I'm a multi-talented creative. I can do pretty much everything. But when I started out, that strategy that I was talking about, the specific thing that I was doing was social media kits. I figured out that it was something that people wanted. And I was like, okay, great. This is what I'm going to start with. I started with that. I started going viral in one Facebook group. I would post in there just sharing what I was doing, getting feedback, things of that nature. But I started going viral every time I posted something in there. Everybody's like, oh my God, this is so nice. How do I work with you? All that good stuff. And I became known for doing the best social media kits on the planet. And that also led to, and that ended up, being my niche at that specific point in time. But what I want in the middle of me telling the story, what I want people to understand is that niching does not minimize how much money you can make. People are still going to ask you about other stuff because obviously if you can do this, you can probably do other things as well. So people are going to ask. And that leads me to the next thing, which is the fact that there were plenty of people who were like, hey, I love your kids, but actually I need this. Do you do this? And I was like, yeah, actually I do. And so that allowed me to go into the space that I wanted to go into, which was full branding, because I was already doing that before. But I just chose to do social media kits because one, they were super easy for me to do. Two, I saw that there was a need for them in the market and people were going crazy every time I posted about them. And three, again, it was easy and I loved doing them. So niching with that allowed me to go vertical, which gave me a lot of visibility. So once I got that visibility from being up there, then I was able to branch out more with offering the branding, the full branding and the brand campaigns and things like that. More full offerings for clients and getting even more clients to come and want to, use the services that we offered, which is great. But yeah, definitely you always want it now. You want to be a specialist, not a generalist. You will not go to a generalist doctor to get brain surgery.
It just don't work. It don't work.
You're not equipped. And that's another thing. Like that's another thing. Like people know that you're not equipped, or at least they're going to make the assumption that you're not equipped if you do like if you're generally doing all these different things. There is understanding people, right? We make assumptions about a lot of things. Most people use if then logic, right? And a lot of that stuff happens subconsciously. So if this person is doing XYZ 1, 2, 3, then that means they are not a specialist in this area. So I should probably go to somebody else. So I'm not even going to reach out to them.
Mm.
And that's a thing that you don't want to go through. Like with what we do, we're pretty much the only option.
Mm-hmm.
That's how niche we are. So there's no competition.
Yeah. You
The
you
more
did the
niche you
Apple
are,
thing. You did the Apple thing.
like and that's the beauty of it, because you get to, the more you niche, which is the part that I love, the more you niche, the more you get to go deep in knowing who your customer is.
Mm-hmm.
The more specific you are with the problem that you're solving, the deeper you get with knowing what these people's problems are and how you can solve them and what that really, 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 really looks like. Like I'm talking about, you can get so deep with it to where they feel like you're in their notes in their phone reading stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, how do you know this? And it's like, because I know you. And that's an
Yeah.
important factor with being able to serve people. You have to understand where they are. You have to understand what it is that they need, and not from just a basic level, you know? So that's one of the beautiful things about niching down, is that you're able to get that vertical visibility, but you're also able to really know what these people need and want. Because even as we've branched out and started offering more services, though we offer more services, who we are serving has gotten so niche in itself that, you know, we're the only option. So
Nice. I love that.
at first the niche was the service.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we became vertical, the niche became the audience.
Mm. I
Yeah.
see where you're going there.
Yeah.
And I love that, because your audience will grow with you.
Exactly. And sometimes they don't. So, and with us, we have multiple audiences as well. So the people who we
Mm-hmm.
were serving in the beginning are not necessarily the same people that we serve now from a service perspective.
Mm-hmm.
We don't offer social media kits as a service anymore, but you can go to our, store online and buy some.
Mm-hmm.
You can shop our digital store and buy like an ebook, or get a course or something that will help you to be able to really develop the type of brand that you want, even though you may not have the funds to invest with us or any other bigger branding studio at a large capacity. Like, that's fine that you
Mm-hmm.
don't have that, but you still deserve to have like the knowledge and the resources to really help you get to wherever you're trying to get to. So again, that just comes with knowing who your audiences are.
Mm-hmm.
I'm aware that there are people who still love what I do as a part of my company, but can't
Mm-hmm.
afford it. Like, I know that because they were buying my $350, social media kits.
Yeah.
A lot of those people cannot obviously afford, a 50K branding project, but that's fine. That's not for them. That's for who it's for, and vice
Mm-hmm.
versa. So, making sure that we still have things in place for the different tiers of our audience is important, but our audience is still very niche. So like,
Mm-hmm.
we really, 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 really know who these people are. And we also, from a proprietary perspective, coined a phrase for the specific area, that they're in their business, so that, we literally are kind of pioneers in the space, which is dope. But yeah.
I love all this dopeness, and you keep talking your talk. Don't be dimming your light for these folks. Let them know who they dealing with. we got we got accolades too. um, so I want to go. I want this the segment. I want to go through the journey real quick, because one of the things I often ask people, because sometimes when you talk to the young folks, especially when they coming out of college, they're like, all right, I got this degree now. I'm gonna go get this 6-figure job, blah blah blah, and I'm gonna be a branding expert like Diamond, and it don't always happen that way. So
Right.
I know you've been a forever entrepreneur, but I'm assuming there was a job before you before that. What was your first job?
The first and only job I ever had was a summer job at the CDC. I was there working as a miscellaneous clerk. I was there for 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah, it was summer job.
Yeah, a little summer job. Okay, all right, a little summer job. See, look, from summer job to entrepreneur to, and I'm pretty sure there was a journey and some bumps along the way between that, to a successful business owner, probably multiple businesses. Now that hear you talk about the beauty salons, because there was a couple before you came down
Yeah,
this route and
right,
landed on
exactly.
this. Yeah. Um, what do you think that were the steps that helped you be successful to where you are now, as a business owner?
Okay, so I'm gonna start from the beginning because it's important to understand how I even got to this point.
Okay.
um, my dad worked. He had a 9 to 5, but he also had a business. So I had interest already from that, from a curiosity perspective.
Mhm,
Um, and when I was in 6th grade, we had a project to do where we had to develop a business plan, come up with a product, and all that type of thing, right? And when I did that project, I kind of immediately just fell in love with that whole thing. So
mhm,
from that point forward, I was trying to figure out how to do business from 6th grade,
mm.
right?
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
and that's from doing hair, selling drawings, selling candy. Everybody did the selling candy thing, um, on up. So by the time I got into high school, I was doing hair, and getting paid. So like I never really had like how kids like they go work at like McDonald's or whatever. I didn't do that. I was doing hair and stuff. Um,
Mhm,
and I had met this woman named Tega Johnson. I met
mhm,
her through um, my childhood school counselor. She was doing her hair and she was like, I know you're into business. I think it would be great if you actually met this woman who does my hair, da da da, whatever. So I met her. I thought she was so amazing because she was like the first person I had ever seen, um, who had like all these products and like she was doing business, at least the way
mhm,
she was doing it. Because the way my dad was doing it was more on the corporate side. So he was getting like government contracts and stuff like that.
mhm,
She was selling products. She was the first person I saw selling lace wigs. This is back in 2000, like 6. She's selling
mm,
lace wigs. She's doing true braids. She got the purses. She got like everything, right? And I'm her
mhm.
intern, so like I'm there. I'm just helping her do stuff, and sometimes I'm doing random things like folding her clothes and things like that. But it was really dope to be able to see that and kind of like see the possibilities of what things could look like. And honestly, from that point forward, um, that's what really made me want to sell like hair and like makeup and stuff like that. Cause I was like, she's doing that. So I know I can do it. I'm already doing hair. I've been doing hair since I was little. So I'm going to do that. Like it makes sense. It complements what I'm
Mhm,
doing. So I'm going to figure it out. So by the time that when I was actually working at the CDC, what I ended up doing was I spent time researching. Like I literally researched and figured out how to sell it or how to buy it so that I could sell it.
mhm.
And I came home and I was like, "Hey parents, I found this supplier. This is before, PayPal and all that stuff when you had to send money via Western Union. So
Yeah.
I found my supplier and I came home and I was like, listen, I found these people. I got to send them money on Western Union and, they're going to send me here. And my dad was like, I don't think you should do that because you're probably not going to get the product. But, I was like, well, it's only like $100 or whatever. So like, if I don't get it, then like, it is what it is, but at least I'm going to try. So why not do that?
Uh-huh.
So I did that and I got the hair and I promoted it on Facebook a little bit before I got it.
Uh,
Also, the day that I got the hair, everybody came and purchased it. And so I sold out the day that I got it in the mail and that was the start
wow.
of that.
Wow.
It kickstarted me selling products, like
Uh,
officially selling products.
Right. Oh wow, that's an amazing story. So I love like that your the step that you took was centered around mentorship. Even like
Exposure,
mentorship
yeah.
is, yeah, and exposure and mentorship. That those are so like, even if it's unofficial mentorship, if you connect with somebody that you can get see the inner workings and just learn a couple things, even if you got to fold a couple pieces of clothing, that's valuable. That's valuable
It's,
information.
mm,
Yeah. And that's really a key to success right there, because you get to skip some learning curves, per
right.
se, right? So I love that. I love that. Uh, what's one good lesson life has taught you?
One good lesson that life has taught me is that honestly, it's going to have to go back to what I was talking about earlier. You got to see through the noise.
Mm,
There's always going to be noise, but you have to be disciplined enough to sit and be still and see through it.
mm,
And like
I
that's
love that.
just period. And that applies to everything. Like it's very
Mm,
easy to get knocked off of things. Like I had a specific moment on my journey of entrepreneurship where for the first time I was in like a strange like financial bind because a couple of clients had done like some chargebacks and like it set me into a frenzy. Um,
mm,
and though I knew what to do, I was not seeing through the noise. So I was panicking.
mm,
Things that happen around you is noise. All of it is noise. Irregardless if it's a situation that you can or can't, it's just noise. So you
mm,
have to be able to see through the noise. Because that honestly, it set me back like 3 years. I was in like a 3 year valley. And a
mm.
lot of people would have given up long
Right.
before that, but I was in the valley for a really long time. And when I say valley, I'm not just speaking in financial terms. I was just in a valley.
Mm-hmm.
And me coming out the valley was when I came back and I made that strategy, said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. And I made that 6 figures in 1 year. That was me coming out of
Mm.
the valley. Um,
Nice.
but, it took me a while to get out of that whatever mental headspace that I was in that got me like I don't know what I'm doing when clearly I know what I'm doing. All I
Mm-hmm.
really needed to do was realistically relax,
Mm-hmm.
breathe, you know, sit down and see, okay, this is what's happening. This is what you know to do. Let's let that work itself out and you just keep focusing on what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You have to see through the noise.
Yeah,
If you
have to see
don't,
through the noise.
it just you're gonna mess yourself up.
Yeah, and that's where a good branding strategy and knowing who you are and all that focus work that you did
Exactly.
really helps you see through the noise. Because if you don't, you'll get lost. You get lost in the sauce, right? You'll
Yeah, it throws
be.
you off. Like a good example of it is think about athletes, like student
Mm-hmm.
athletes, right? They focus on the work, they focus on this, that, and the third, but people will tell them like, don't get caught up in relationships or don't get caught up doing these parties and all that stuff because it throws you off. It's sideline stuff. There are things that have you looking left and right that'll take your focus. And there are situations that can happen in those things that can literally take your focus. So it's like
Mm-hmm.
you have to be able to train yourself to really have the stamina to withstand things that you're going through so that you can fucking focus.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're
Yeah.
not able to do that, it's going to mess you up every time.
Yeah. Well. What I know you're gonna be. There's gonna be some young girl or some young man that's gonna hear this story of you and research you and all that, and they're creative, because we have a lot of creative folks that's in our community, and they're like, "Yo, I'm gonna do what Diamond does. Like, I'm inspired now. That's my vision. That's my focus." Um, what's some advice you would give to that young man or young woman who is inspired by your journey, your story, and they're creative and they want to get into this world of branding, marketing, and design?
So I would say pick something and stick to it until you build momentum. Um, it doesn't matter what it is as long as it's something that you enjoy. Don't spend too much time trying to think about what it is. Just pick something that you enjoy, stick with it, build momentum, and then expand if you want to. Expand to other things as far as like niches are concerned. Um, but outside of that, I would say work on your mental, emotional, spiritual stamina. Like, um,
Mm-hmm.
do the things that are necessary for your personal development,
Mm-hmm.
because the higher you go, things don't get easier. You just have to become a stronger person internally. So I definitely encourage you should really doing that, the real inner work that's required of you, because the reality is, 100K me is different than millionaire me. And you
Mm-hmm.
have to be that person in
Mm-hmm.
order to receive that thing. You have to be it before you get it. So definitely
Mm-hmm.
just continuously work on your personal development and being the person. Um, and also not caring what people say. Like, F these
Mm-hmm.
folks.
Yeah.
Do what you want to do. This is your life that you have to live.
That part. Um, so when you look at the future of your industry,
Mhm.
especially for melanated folks, what does the future look like?
So I definitely see more melanated people. Like, definitely my industry is dominated by white men, and I'm not a
Mm,
white man. But I'm definitely walking my way up to the top of the industry. So
yes.
it's just one of those things where it's like, I know where I am right now. There's not a lot of black people, black women, and where I'm going, there's definitely not a lot. Um, but I definitely see more of us in that space, and kind of like us creating you know, our own space within the space, and being able to have our voices heard, and also the representation that's necessary for us to have more of us in there. Like, hey, she looked
Yeah.
just like me, and she up there with Jessica Walsh and all the rest of them, Pentagram.
Well, I love that.
Definitely.
Because I mean, we pretty much run the industry anyways. It's just we need to have more people in power like yourself so that we can really build on our own terms.
For sure.
Right. So I love that. Now I'm gonna end off with this question, because I need the people to be following you and staying tuned into what you're doing. So, with that being said, what projects are you currently working on, and where can people find you?
Um, what projects am I working on right now?
She's like, what am I not working on, child?
Basically, that's how I feel. My mind is drawn a blank. But if you want to find out what I'm working on, you can follow me at the Diamond Spikes on Instagram, Diamond Sands on Facebook, and Diamond Spikes on LinkedIn as well. And y'all should also sign up for our newsletter because it's bomb.com. And it's on our
Ooh.
website. So it's dscreativedesignstudio.com. But that's
Shoot,
it.
I'm about to go sign me up right now because she done got me all hype and thinking about my rebranding right now. I was like, dang, okay. I thought I had this on point. I'm gonna have to go back and
That's
do some
okay.
more
I mean,
homework.
I think the one thing about branding, which I think people need to really realize, is how much it mirrors us as people. And at the end of it all, people evolve over time. So brands have to evolve over time as well. It's not a process that it's one and done. You will continuously have to evolve your brand, its strategy, and just different components to make sure that you're always in alignment with who you're serving. And that's just the nature of the game. Like, it's the world. The
Hmm.
world evolves, and brands
Nah.
should too.
Right. That's the nature of the game. Worlds evolve, brands evolve. What is your brand saying, and how are you evolving your brand, and how is your brand evolving with you? Another hot take from Diamond Spikes. Don't get it confused with the Sands. We starting the year with that new. Although it's been a year, I was a little delayed in my information that was sent to me, but Diamond, we are so glad to have you on the show for all of the gems you dropped. Any last words of wisdom for the people before we head out?
Um, I think I'll just say it's gonna be all right, y'all. Just relax, focus on creating a life that makes sense for you, and go for whatever it is that you want. And make sure you're leading with empathy. That's it.
Mm, boop. There it is. Lead with empathy. That's another episode of Rise Every Nation, and we'll catch you on the next time.